You are listening to DC On Screen.
All right, welcome in to DC On Screen. I am David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello.
Oh. We are less than 48 hours away. In less than 48 hours, we will be at the theater. The lights will have dimmed. And James Gunn's Superman will be shoveled unscrupulously into our eyeballs.
Right. I feel like it would have been less work to say in 48 hours we will be watching that.
Yeah, I mean...
We'll be somewhere in the middle of it.
Right. It would have been less work, but less fun as well.
But once you got started, it was just, let's see how we get there after a while.
I have fun with it sometimes.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
But for now...
I'm excited, though. It's going to be difficult 48 hours. I'm avoiding the internet as thoroughly as possible.
Yes.
I'm only looking at small corners that I can trust. If I enter if I have to go to the internet for anything, I might have anything I have might say like no spoilers, and then the internet search starts.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today.
Here to talk about what we did have at our disposal.
Yes.
Already.
Yes.
For quite some time.
And here's the thing. This episode, I am very tired. I've had some rough sleep, and I might not sound too excited about Superman Returns. But rest assured, that's because the movie fucking sucks.
I want to know right here and now, it's not because I'm tired. If you sense any lack of will to live, it's the fact that this movie took it from me. Oh, when did you watch it? What's your how far out from the sickness are you?
I saw it in theater like a few times when it came out.
Really?
I did. I went and saw it, and then I saw it in IMAX with a different friend. We went to Georgia and saw it, and this big, I think it was the only IMAX theater we had at the time in our vicinity. But
that's probably accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got a whole ass viewing experience with this thing that I do not have.
Right. You also have to remember though that Superman Returns. Yeah, even with me having seen it in theaters a few times.
Have you seen it since?
I think I'd seen it once since.
About how long ago?
It was a longer ago than this podcast, so over 10 years.
Okay. So you just had an XX viewing several years later.
Right.
And then it's been untouched until you watched it like last night? No, I think you were watching it yesterday.
Yeah, I watched it last night.
Somewhere overlapped, which must have been fucked up for Max to have two viewers of this movie at the same time.
Yeah. I was wrapping the movie up and I looked down and saw you had texted, I can't do this. I got to finish this tomorrow. I was like, you coward.
Yeah. It was 1 a.m. I was falling asleep writing notes.
Yeah. And I was tired, but
I would wake up. My pen was further down the line.
Yeah.
Okay, I did get the thought mostly down before it turned to squiggles. Let's get this. Let's finish this.
So to set the scene though a little bit, for me, I saw this in theaters multiple times, partially because I wanted to milk as much of it as I could into my soul. Because I was so excited about this movie. Keep in mind, this was the first Superman movie in 20 years.
Mm-hmm. This would have been, okay, so for us, this would have been our generation's Superman movie.
Yeah, it should have been, but it wasn't, for obvious reasons.
It did not work out that way, but yes, we should have been, for all intents and purposes, seeing this thinking, oh my God, we have a Superman finally.
And I don't think the whole thing is bad, but it's pretty close.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. It's funny because, in Superman 4, Superman tells Lex, "See you in 20," and he was right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what had happened was for 20 years, or not 20 for real, but kind of, I just kept hearing about the next Superman movie that was coming. Oh, the next Superman movie that was coming. And I remember when they were still trying to get Chris Reeve to do Superman 5. And then I remember when he had his accident and people were still saying, well, you saw Jurassic Park. They can still make it happen. And I was going, maybe. I don't think so, though.
That was in the Halicon days of just anything was possible, right? Because we have computers.
The what?
The Halcyon days. That's
Halcyon.
Right?
Oh, I was like, right. Halicon. What is a Halicon?
I don't know. I spelled that wrong in my head.
I was like,
but yeah,
is that some sort of comic book convention?
No, just weirdness. But that was like, anything was the possible time, right?
I'm sorry, what? You just completely derailed me with that.
Completely derailed, yeah. That's right.
What are we talking about?
The fact that anything was possible for a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people saw Jurassic Park and just decided deepfake is a thing today, and
yeah,
and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh well, that's not what's gonna happen. We're gonna have Nick Cage, and it's gonna be Tim Burton, and all this stuff that just kind of kept saying it's gonna do, and then they just never would.
Yeah.
And we do talk about that. There is some of that in the trivia, where it's just like this movie alone was like, Brett Ratner was going to do it, and McG was going to do it, and J.J. Abrams had a hand in a part of it, and then it didn't good God.
Well, we have, an early episode where it's just movies that didn't happen, where this was during an era where there were several scripts that got passed around, and we've covered them at various times for various reasons. There were a ton of false starts. Some ideas maybe hung around for a minute. So I think some maybe showed up in this movie. This was a John Peters film after all, so God knows what kind of weird bullshit got trapped in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff was bouncing around, but very little of it made it to the film or made it to actual film.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of this did.
This is a strange movie.
It is for a lot of reasons.
But I had, like I was saying, I was excited that they were going to make it. And I was, once they announced Bryan Singer, I was kind of excited.
Was a hell of a get at the moment.
It was. He was, fresh off of X-Men and X2.
Mm-hmm.
And I was obsessed with Bryan Singer because of Apt Pupil and, most importantly, the Usual Suspects. Super excited about Kevin Spacey at the time.
Oh yeah, he was killing it. This was him over the stretch of what would be his prime. The Bryan Singer, did he end up doing the Armageddon storyline for X-Men?
The Armageddon storyline?
I have a vague memory. I think it was Bryan Singer where there was some.
You talking about Days of Future Past?
Yeah, I think they ended up calling it Days of Future Past. But I think there was he had put out he just. Whatever tweets were at the time, he just messaged somewhere that Days of Future Past or Armageddon or whatever it was. But I remember you coming to show me oh my God, Bryan Singer said this. I think this is what they're going to do with the franchise next.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an exciting time.
Yeah. And Days of Future Past is a classic storyline, and that is the title of it, a classic storyline from the comic books. Now, they didn't do it like the comic books, of course, but that was a good movie.
Yeah, but. Oh, point was, it was at that time him even saying what the storyline was. Yeah. It was a very that was a big break.
Yeah, that was cool. And that was after this. So Superman Returns was just one of those things where I said, "Look, I don't some people have hang-ups about Donner, and at the end of the day, Bryan Singer couldn't decide what the fuck he wanted to do with this movie." Because it's not a true sequel, and it doesn't make sense.
It can be considered a true from just Superman 1 and 2.
It can't. Jason.
What's it missing?
Well, first of all, yeah, I know comic books do this, but...
I almost want to ask, what would be the proper way to start tearing this down first? But I just, whatever comes to mind.
All right. First of all,
might as well just start chipping away.
The Superman.
It's going to be bad. I'm very sorry if you enjoyed this movie.
Yeah,
it's not going to be great. I have 2 pages of notes about things that are just weird.
So, Superman 1 and 2 very clearly take place in 78 and 80, roughly.
Okay.
Roughly. This very clearly takes place in like 2006.
Yeah, anachronisms all over the place.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking down that direction. That would just be a dead end. Yeah.
So already that, but Lex goes to the Fortress of Solitude, knows where the Fortress of Solitude is. Mm-hmm. Kitty Kowalski says something like, "You act like you've been here before," and he sort of confirms it, but the look he gives in the camera, that's confirmation. But then he's shocked. He's shocked
when the thing displays.
When Jor-El is talking to him as if he's Superman, and he thinks I'm his son. Okay, well, regardless of which version of Superman 2 you watch, whether it's Lara or Jor-El, this is all what he fucking knows, like that they are talking to him like he's Kal-El, right? And right. Gene Hackman's Luthor was like, it's a hologram. It's not real. He's not really there. And
for that reason, I almost read it as he seems. When she says it looks like you've been here, he's going over the crystals. Mm-hmm. He looks familiar with them. I read it as he's looking at them like, which one was it that I remember? That one. Uh-huh. Like that's how I read the action of it. And then he puts in the crystal. By the way, I wrote my note for that section is the crystals still don't make any fucking sense. No. That's what my note from that section says. And no one explained this, by the way. Fuck all of you for it. Mm-hmm. But he sees it. I almost took it as he was just like, oh, this one thinks it's talking to me, which is equally stupid.
Because he's already had that.
That doesn't help at all. That doesn't help in the slightest.
Yeah. And then he's like, tell me everything with the crystals. My guy, you already knew.
Yeah, yeah.
You by the time Zod and company brought Lex to the fortress, they're like, activate the fucking chamber. And he's like, all right. And he just goes about it like, I already know. I already figured this shit out. Yeah. So if it's a true sequel to either of those, none of that shit makes sense. So all of that I'll say, and I might have more later if I think of it. Yeah. Or if I'll see it in my notes. But that right there, like, I don't know. And that's what I mean by like the movie doesn't know what it wants to be, because sometimes it acts like it's a sequel, and then sometimes it's like, it's not a sequel. Because the way Lex is acting doesn't make sense.
Doesn't sequelize. I think you can somewhat make sense. Another one that really strikes me, later, Tess goes through the same emotional arc she did in the first one.
Who?
Like. Oh,
you talking about Kitty? That's not. No, she's not.
Yeah, Kitty.
She's not.
She's not Tess.
She's not Tess Mocker. No. She's
God,
different.
That makes so much more sense. That is Kitty. Okay.
She's Kitty Kowalski. She is not Eve Tessmacher. Eve Tessmacher. God, I can't
that makes
say
more
it.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank God for that. That's one less problem.
Even though she says the same shit and they make the same jokes.
Yeah, she is just a knockoff of the character. So she's just sort of
the poorest man's Eve Tessmacher.
Kind of, yeah. Like she definitely fills the same role. Like in the sense that she's just boring to watch. Like
that's true of almost everything in this movie.
I mean, yeah. Like she comes back from that scene where the brakes are cut on her. That one's taxing to watch. It's just overplayed. Mm-hmm. She's screaming in a way that doesn't make sense. He's doing. There's really about only that moment in the movie where I just thought, oh, this is just bad to watch.
Yeah, Parker Posey can't not overact.
Is that the problem?
She's either completely overacting or she's doing like when she's like when they keep showing her like having her emotional moments, like not being okay with what Lex is doing. I guess that's her version of being subtle, but instead she's got kind of her mouth hanging open like she's having a stroke. She looks like Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it was not hidden for me.
And they're just like, she's just sitting there like spazzing, staring at Lex, holding that dog, that's
another thing.
Cannibal
she's paired
dog.
With that, yeah, she's paired with that weird fucking storyline with the dogs.
Uh-huh.
With the... yeah.
It's weird, man. It's a weird movie.
Was she like? Was the dog eating just the other dog up front?
Yeah.
Or was it the lady's fingers?
Oh no, it was the other dog. There were two dogs, and
there
then
were two.
They left the fucking house and then came back some long time later
To one victorious dog.
to one dog, and she's like, "Wasn't there two of those?"
Yeah.
By the way, the old lady, you know who that was?
No.
That Lex got everything from? Gertrude. That was the original Lois. That was Noelle Neal.
Oh, okay.
He showed her pleasures that she never imagined.
Yeah. So the movie starts awful. Like Lex's introduction here, that should have been more of a sign. I thought that was just such a weak way for this even this huckster Lex.
Uh-huh.
Such a weak fucking way for this guy to make a fortune. Like I guess a bounce back fortune. He needs a little bit of money to play with. Not his first fortune in this story. You know?
I don't know.
But
you know, he was just always
just
a
go in
criminal
and, like
in
Black
these.
Widow somebody.
Yeah,
I know, but
if
it's
they're
just
going
a
off,
weird way to get a startup.
it is. It's weird. I did laugh with him taking off the wig and handing it to the little girl and the girl screaming.
God,
that was funny.
That
was funny to
I
me.
hated it. It looked so lame. Like it triggered me though, and here's why. Because like he comes out of that, like it's already weird. They already do like he plops the hair off to reveal the baldness. Which, by the way, the bald storyline in this is a whole other set of weirdness.
Uh-huh.
I'm not even trying to be fucking all bald woke and shit. I'm just saying you made it's a lot of weird fucking jokes. Like it's a whole ass string. You'd think the entire movie can depend on a bald joke? Seriously? Just bad. But like,
wait, how many were there? What are you talking about?
Like the constant references to like even the first thing Jason says when he sees Lex in the hallway is, "You're bald."
Right.
That's the least believable line in the entire fucking movie.
Well, I knew you were going to go there because that's the only two I remember.
I think there were other lines. Anyway, maybe I over-registered it, but it's like it got weird.
Yeah.
Like yeah. Kitty mentions it at another point. It's just it keeps coming up. He's got all the things. She's got at some point like
what my father told me. You're losing your hair.
Yeah, there's that thing.
Yeah.
So
3.
Yeah, and then like at some point when she's breaking in, like the big trigger is she sees all of his wigs, which I don't remember being it's a strange thing to have pointed out that he's got a wig fascination now, and we're supposed to know that's a big inherent figure of Lexiness.
That was that's coming off of the Donner stuff, and he absolutely had.
Is that?
Oh God, he had so many wigs. Every time we saw Lex in those movies, especially number 1, I think he wore just one wig consistently in number 2, but in Superman the movie, he had like a whole wall of wigs, and every time we saw him, he was wearing a different fucking wig.
So here's what I remember from that. He's bald the whole movie because that's the thing. And then when he goes through a few, like they go on little heists and little adventures and he wears a wig for them, which I guess he does here. So fine. That's okay. So he's got the same wall as before. Fine. That's a reference.
Yeah.
But like the part that originally got me that's just annoying. He comes out and that's the big reveal is he pops off his hair and oh my God, we have bald Lex. He's a bad guy. The whole family's there. Mm-hmm. He's inside. She's signing the will with literally her last breath. Mm-hmm. And then
he had to finish it for her.
Yeah, had to sort of walk her through it. Yeah, and then he comes outside and there's just the little girl standing there and he just throws her at the end. The reason I hated it is it just wasn't that funny. It's just kind of a stupid scene. But
it was one of those that was funny to me because of how absurd it was. Just
So I think that's where it could be funny, but I think my reaction instead of that is I immediately got annoyed, but okay, it's another fucking time where no one's going to take this seriously at all. Like you have in this space, you have you could have introduced him a number of ways and you have him do this ridiculous thing. Like it's the most shystery way he could possibly get his fortune, which do we need to show the most shystery way he could do it? There's a number of ways you could have shown him accumulating wealth right now. Land deals, any other thing you wanted to do, like a stock market deal. He didn't necessarily have to go like Black Widow, some old lady.
Yeah.
It was just a weird choice to start with that. And then to immediately come out with I think they do a Dutch angle on the little girl when she's screaming and some shit. It just broke me out of the thing real quick.
Yeah, I wasn't terribly against it, because that felt like that was the last time his Luthor felt like Gene Hackman's Luthor, though, to me.
Really?
Because throughout the rest of the film, he's not fun. He's dark and menacing and hateful, And there are definitely things Kevin Spacey did with Luthor that felt fun in a way, like him being like gods. Gods are beings in little red capes who don't share their power with mankind. He had some fun little Prometheus shit, some Arthur C. Clarke shit going on, but he never really, after that initial bit, the huckster bit, he never felt like Hackman. Because Hackman seemed like he was having fun. Like, he felt like a used car salesman a little bit. Lex Luthor, our greatest criminal mind of this or any other time. He's throwing up the peace signs. He's, just cheese.
So funny there, it had a weird effect. I think most of the film, I thought he was doing a really impressive Gene Hackman impression.
Oh, I never.
But you're right.
Like that.
I don't know. I did get the sense that he was doing a really good impression of it, but occasionally he would take a time to do like something a little bit darker that felt a little bit more like Kevin Spacey's kind of area, because he was, he was great at just being like dark like that. But I thought it was a pretty good impression for the most part. But you're right. Like it wasn't just as boldly comical and farcical as it normally would be. The closest I can remember is kind of the bathrobe scene with the break-in. That's maybe as close as I could remember. Yeah.
And they don't and I'm not saying like they should have. I'm just saying, there were several little like tone differences. Like Spacey wasn't playing it as he wasn't playing it like he was as put upon as Hackman did. Any little thing that his idiot cronies would do, and he would just shake his head with his eyes closed, like, oh. But at the same time, they would have that like
literally the like Abbott and Costello beat for those.
Yeah, and they would have the little March of Villains from Williams, dun, 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 that kind of really pushed that like comic edge to
the goofiness.
And it was an interesting thing to look at so close behind the Reeve movies, because they really did play it darker. Like almost none of the villains even had. I don't think any of the villains other than Kitty had lines. One of them did. About
most of them. I think the guy who died eventually has like one line somewhere in the fight.
Well, all of them died eventually, but
oh yeah. I mean the piano dude. My bad.
The piano dude, the John Wayne Gacy guy.
I don't think Kal Penn had any lines.
Kal Penn did not. Yeah, he didn't. There was one guy who said, when he was like, "Stop the camera," and he's like, "Oh, I'm getting it." And he's like, "Stop the camera." There was that one guy with the camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
that is a weird note, how few lines there were in this thing.
We didn't have like a proper Otis stand-in.
I did wonder about that.
We just had a bunch of thugs who didn't really speak.
There were things that I think were meant to be more humorous that didn't hit. Like I think because of the way it played, like the whole bit with the dog, like the end when he's just looking at the dog, I think that's supposed to be funnier than it is. Maybe.
Oh, because that's what they're going to eat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that was meant to be a little more what you're looking for, but it just didn't work that way with all those in there. One thing I noticed, Brutus, I think is the...
that was Kal Penn, yeah. Oh, no. Maybe it was the other guy.
I think Brutus is piano dude.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Dude with the skull cap.
Yeah.
So there's one dude that's constantly playing, and I think this is meant to be a running bit that's funny in the background. And to me, it kind of was, because it's funny in the background. But I like the running bit where they're never able to play pool. Like if you look in the background, it's a pool table on a boat, and he didn't get the kind that's gyroscopically whatever. So there's a spot somewhere in the movie they actually do a camera shot where it's over the pool table, I think, for a second, and it puts it in the foreground or forethought for a second, but otherwise it's just kind of chilling in the back.
Yeah.
And he's always just kind of moving the balls around while he can to hit it while he can. It is a farce. Yeah. Technically, in the background of these otherwise funny scenes, but it's not doing the work you want it to do, I don't think.
Yeah. It's not. So, to kind of jump back, though, I thought the opening of the movie was weird. The little prologue there about the wise scientist who sends his son to Earth and all that. There's a weird way to kind of do that, get the audience up to date on that. And then we
do not have to have a recap. Can't stress that enough. But
we don't. And then we have like Krypton's sun sucking in and then exploding. And the sun looks like CGI acrylic. It looks plasticky. It's so loud. It looks like ketchup. And the effects...
I want to watch that again now.
The effects look like the opening of fucking Pee-wee's Playhouse. And it's a total stylistic choice that I
They've done it
hate.
that way.
I hate it.
So I agree. I think they were trying to do something that looked like a bridge between the shitty practical and what we could do now. Mm-hmm. I genuinely think there was a deliberate choice to kind of give it a little bit of shitty practical feel and move on from that in the rest of the movie.
But you see pictures from Hubble and all that stuff. It looks like the shitty practical effects. It looks real. That's what the practical effects look like often in high budget 70s pictures. You see like a planet and shit, and you're like, yeah, that actually does look closer than what the CGI shit looks like.
Right.
To me.
It was strange. I liked that they minimized the backstory, but it was still unnecessary.
Yeah. But then we get the credits, and yes, the words
The old
zooming.
credits.
The credits zooming towards us look great, but all the galactic effects, galactic effects from a $200+ million movie should not look like 90s Nickelodeon space cases. And that's what it fucking looked like. It looked rough.
Where you're just zooming through the meteor and stuff.
Yeah. And even then I'm still sitting there going like, I am not so IQ deficient that I am happy to just sit and watch pretty colors on a screen for this long. Like, please get through these credits. Please move on.
I thought you were going to, yes, completely. I thought you were going to say I'm not so enamored of my memory of this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing. This movie didn't know where to exist between nostalgia and trying to regain a new audience. It didn't know how to do that at all. Mm-mm. So that credits, it was too long. We did not need to do that. That is an edit that should have been left in the late 70s. Movies don't pace that way anymore, and they should stay that way, damn it. Mm-hmm. And here we are. It was nice to see that. I enjoyed seeing the credits do that for a second, but it really, a third of the time even.
Yeah. Now, something that they cut out that maybe they should have kept was a long sequence of Clark in his ship surveying the spot Krypton used to be at. If they had kind of done credits there, that would have been, because it is lots of pretty shots. It doesn't really give much of the story, but it's better than the opening credits that we got, I feel. There was a plot line in there where apparently the original plan, and Warner Brothers made him cut 30 minutes out of the movie. So where have you heard that before? Mm-hmm. Kal Penn and Lex Luthor trick Superman. They basically have astronomers, quote unquote astronomers, say that they found Krypton and it's still there, and that's why Superman leaves. And because Superman isn't there,
that needed to be here.
And because Superman wasn't there now as a witness, Lex gets free. Because
they mention it, but
Superman,
those are two of the weakest parts of the entire movie.
Yeah, Superman he just, grabbed Lex, took him to jail, no Miranda rights, no anything.
Yeah.
Guess what? Lex is getting free, buddy.
There are times where I would rather you just pretend there's no legal system than invoke it and do it so badly that it just annoys the shit out of me. Like, this isn't one where I'm like, I don't know enough about the law to care or to give you any kind of rundown here. It's not believable to me that somebody like Lex trying to kill millions of people is going to get off because any one of the witnesses, even Superman, missed a court date. That's not a believable thing for me to digest and watch your film. Mm-hmm. I can't get along with it.
Well, he had already been in prison. Again, if we're going by sequel, he had already been in prison from the first movie, escaped in Superman 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, you could say that he was, under duress or whatever. He was...
No.
But
Dude,
I mean...
I've seen that. We've seen this done in real life where you literally, exonerated of the first thing, still went to jail a little bit for skipping jail, even if you... Like, we have seen this in actual court precedent that it doesn't work that way.
No, I know.
And that was the judge. So, yeah.
I know. I'm just saying, like, you could kind of say him helping Zod was like Zod was forcing him.
Yeah.
But the other stuff is still there.
You're going to invent something Nuremberg level for Lex. It's not going to go by, he didn't show up for a court date. It's not workable for me.
Yeah.
Also, the astronomer thing. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad there is a backstory. But on the face of it, what I saw here, dude, it's 5 years of travel. I don't even know why he needs a ship. I don't know. In this story, in this universe, I don't know why this Superman necessarily needs a ship to travel.
Well, if he goes to another galaxy, he would, because he's going to be away from our sun.
Yes, but you can be near other yellow sun. There's within the rules of this universe, I don't know for sure if it's outlawed exactly, but the rules of this universe change enough that like I can't hold you to that entirely.
I'm just going to say this. Motherfucker needed a ship to get here. He's going to need a ship to get back. That's what I'm going to say.
Maybe, but that's where the problem lies. Like 5 years travel time is 2.5 years back and forth, right? That's down the street in terms of astronomy. Like there's no, just a glancing blow at it. There's no version where they're just like, hey, we just discovered this thing. It would be like just discovering you had a lawn if you're an astronomer. Impossibly close to what you're trying to look at. You would have discovered that decades ago. There's no way. Like the idea that Lex goes in and like bribes somebody to say that is the only reason I could ever get behind that. Cutting that is an absolute abomination of explainability.
Yeah.
And honestly, here's the part that I do hate about that. Because I want to be like, they shouldn't have cut that. Dude, this is 2.5 hours and it did not have to be.
It didn't. It really didn't.
There's other stuff you should have cut. Like the studio probably should have told you not to make a 3-hour movie. I'm kind of siding with them on this one right now.
I kind of desperately want to do my own cut of every one of these Superman movies.
I'm down for it. I would happily sit and watch these with you.
Now, here's what I like about him going on this mission to go and check out Krypton from the sequel perspective.
Okay.
In the Reeve canon Supergirl film, the reason Superman isn't there to help her with this threat is because they say Superman is on a deep cosmic or galactic mission to another galaxy. So that
sounds more noble than just he's on some personal shit right now off somewhere else.
Yeah. But again, problematic for the sequel status. They act like Superman just disappeared and no one knows where he went.
Yeah.
Where it was like literally like a newscast or some shit in Supergirl that was talking about it.
Yeah, all right, so in this movie, again, back to its own logic. Clark bumblingly tries to say, well, maybe it was unbearable for him to say goodbye, right? And then there's a reference later where she tries to say, well, Clark tried to say this, and Superman's like, well, maybe. It's just, they don't address that enough for it to make any sense to me. Like,
well, I think the secret reason is because, one, this isn't Reeve canon, and two, bitch was 22 at the time, so when he left, she was 16, and Sam Lane was already up in his ass for statutory.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. There's going to be a few of these where I'm just, like, I don't know where to begin with some of the problems, though. Like, I can skip to one in particular. All right. So along the lines of the editorial choices there, like, all right, that movie should have been a 2-hour movie. Could easily have been a 2-hour movie. There's a lot of there that didn't need to be there. The 3-hour movie at that time, by the way, in 2006 was an absurd ask. You better have a damn good reason. Are you like, and trying to start a Superman franchise in 2000, like that's not a bad reason to try to make a 3-hour, like I'm hearing it out. It's just not all there. It's not worth it for me. But in terms of what you could have cut, there were a lot of story choices here that were just, what are we doing with this film? And so, like you said, the film doesn't seem like it knows where it's going.
We can cut that long extended sequence of him remembering being a young Clark running across a field wearing glasses.
Yeah.
I don't know why motherfucker needed to wear glasses.
I don't know why. And I didn't need to watch him like, it looked like bad Hulk CGI. Like it almost at times looked like they grabbed the Hulk action and just over it. It was rough.
Were they trying to say like Clark he was wearing glasses because his supervision was trying to kick in, or making some like, is that why his kid is like asthmatic and shit? Like, because.
Well, I don't know, thinking that they were going to do something very cool with the asthmatic kid thing, where maybe it was, I would love it. Like, okay, well, if he was born of Earth, then maybe Earth is a trigger for it. So when he gets around kryptonite, it makes him stronger. that would be a cool turn. They didn't go down that road, I don't feel like. So,
right.
Like, if anything, he has powers here, but there's no explanation. He just has mommy's about to die powers. It's strange. But in terms of just overall story and editorial choices, there are story choices, which when you look at this thing, it's like story by Bryan Singer. So there's a story by 3 people and written by 2 people. Singer's only in for the story part, and then he bounces out, and then he comes back for the director title or credit. So he helps break the story. Somebody else writes it. He comes back and directs the thing. But I'll put it this way. So the game I wanted to play with you is this. Looking at the whole process, the plot as we have it here. Can you think of a way to pitch me this story that doesn't sound like you just got dumped?
I'm not sure who's supposed to be the dumper.
This is very much the script of someone who is working some shit in their personal life out.
It seems like it.
And not well.
It's like, it seems like someone very toxic.
Yes.
You know, because it's like, yeah, okay, cool. So again, if we're going by sequel, which we probably shouldn't, in this case, we have a Superman who fucked Lois.
I mean, it purports to be a sequel, so hold it to its own merit.
It believes it is. It thinks it is. So, okay, fine. You had sex with Lois, then gave her a memory kiss that made her forget that you had sex with her and that you were, in fact, Clark Kent. And I assume she thinks that her kid is fiance Richard White's until he throws that piano. So as the great Kevin Smith wants to ask before me, why isn't Lois saying, when the fuck did you rape me, Superman?
A little bit. But so I'm getting into a slightly different thing. So I can't tell watching it. I think she knows. Like the film makes a lot of, dude, the movie over and over again is like, did you fuck him though? But did you fuck him? Like, even Richard, the nice guy of the film, has to stop at some point and go, okay, I mean, yeah. But did you fuck him? Like, it's weird fucking horse shaming behavior that's fucking annoying the whole fucking movie.
That's not what he said. He said, were you in love with him?
Yeah, I know.
And she said everybody was in love with Superman. And he was like, yeah, but were you? Yeah.
They go back for that. But, like, I think, just watching it, especially like the way that she asks, so remember when Lex is like hanging over the kid and he's got the kryptonite and he's like, are you sure? Again, even then Lex is like, but did you fuck him? The whole movie is asking over and over again, you sure you didn't bone Superman? Yeah. And in that moment, I felt like her response was very much, I felt like she knows this boy is not Richard's.
Maybe.
I don't know if canonically or I don't know if in the truth of the film I have to be wrong about that or if it's an interpretation possibility. I felt like she knows that this is Superman's boy, which makes the whole film so much weirder for me.
I think a lot of it is interpretation. A lot of it's not clear. There's this, that ambiguous fucking thing where they're like, the kid is like, Superman's in the water down there. And she's like, how do you know? And then this, like, everybody kind of just knows why he knows. And I'm like, I don't.
No, I have no idea.
Do they have some kind of fucking psychic link all of a sudden? Like, what is this? Show that?
Do you have audio or do you have really terribly clipped audio of his super hearing as well?
Yeah.
That I didn't hear. By the way, why did you do that? Why was that a choice y'all made?
Bethany complained about that. Yeah, that was weird.
You have super hearing, but you can only hear it. It's just fucking.
Now, see, I did like Richard being like, I mean, yeah, you what was the name of that article? And she was like,
My Night with Superman or whatever.
I spent the night with Superman. Yeah. Yep. She's like, yeah, that was Perry's idea. The title was Perry's idea. He's like,
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, he didn't have to ask about the night with Superman. He could have just been like, are you in love with him? And even then, that would have made sense. I would be perfectly okay with Richard's character being like, cool, Superman was out of the picture before. Now that he's back, how did you really feel about this dude? That would be kind of an acceptable behavior.
Well, like, Richard is total Nepo baby, dude. Like, he's supposed to be some fucking reporter, a good enough reporter that he is above everybody else. and has his own office and shit, but is upset that Lois has a password on the computer. Like, shit, she has a password. Yeah, that's how it fucking works. That's how it works, Rick.
I was confused about that. Man, I glanced away from the screen and I got another character wrong. So I had to go back for a second and be like, did I have that right? I thought for a second, just hearing their voices, that he's the one who brings out the sheet of paper and is like, I don't know what these numbers mean, but it's Lois's writing. Which the whole thing just stupid. Anyone saying, I know this must be Lois's writing, but I don't know what these numbers are next to. That's just, I don't know what to tell you. And then also, that must be off the coast of Japan. Dude, there's like 4 numbers there. Latin longs are like 8 numbers long minimum. I don't know much about them. I know they're longer than that.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's a weird spot. For a second, though, I could have sworn it happened another way around. I was so pissed. I had to go back and rewatch that scene. Like,
well, actually, they did figure out what people have figured out what the latitude and longitude where it is, and it's like right off the coast of New Jersey, man. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that is kind of where they were going, what they were going for.
I mean, as far as them being accurate, yeah, great. Yeah, I'm sure they were. It was a weird spot it was a weird piece of dialogue to turn all that around on.
Yeah. That's most of this movie.
Like the couple of plot points that are there.
Just the dialogue is stiff and weird. Like Clark and his mother talking, just like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, their dialogue was odd. It's
strange.
Weird to see Glenn Ford in the picture on the piano. It's weird to, I don't know. It's just weird. It's all weird,
dude.
Hold on. Why did Clark throw that ball so fucking far away, knowing that poor dog
mad about that fucking ball.
Wouldn't be able to fetch it?
Okay, I'm going to do a quick list of non-Superman-y behaviors, but everything we fucking talked about so far.
Okay.
And then you knew that is clearly that dog's favorite ball.
And by the way, let me ask this real quick. How the fuck does Man of Steel get all the shit that it does when Superman Returns came in and had Clark throwing that ball so far away for that dog, and has Clark moping and brooding and fucking floating around like a damn stalker? Movie. He's floating around like a stalker outside of Lois's house.
I lost track of who's cucking who over the course of the movie. It's a tri-folding set of cuckeries. I don't understand entirely how they lie together. There's a lot going on there. It's stalkery as shit. There's at some point. Let me find the one note I have here about this. It's just, I think it just says like, yeah, sir, that is a mother. What are you doing? I'll take all right. So this whole scene. So he goes off with her and he does this flight where he like confronts her about, how could you write that article? Okay, cool. All right. So motivation wise, he's going to come back and be like, how could you write that article? I can get behind that scene. I can get behind that as it stands. But then he doesn't just kind of do that. He comes back and he's basically like, the entire scene is him just being angry about, how dare you forget how much y'all needed me.
Yeah.
That's the lesson.
Like crybaby pissant.
Yes, exactly that. He's fucking small. And like he does all that, and then he gets onto her basically for just not loving him the way he does. It's stupid. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, he starts to do the thing where he's like, let me just show you something real quick. All right. So this is where I'm like, dude, that is, as far as you're concerned, that's the mother of a child you just met. Like, what are you doing, bird dogging this man? Like, what happened right here? This is not Superman behavior. And it's not the kind of thing where it's like, oh, we were going to humanize him a bit. You didn't humanize him. You just kind of made him a shitty version of, like, you made him go through a weird thing that I think you think is more normal than it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. That's not, like, I'm not relating to that because that's not great behavior. No one should be relating to that. That's not as sympathetic as you would expect.
Like, no, surprise. You can't just mind wipe somebody, then take off for 5 years, because that's exactly what would have happened if he is the father. That's the timeline that you're looking at with the age of that kid. Take off for 5 years without even saying goodbye.
Yeah, which is also fucked up. There's no version of events where he couldn't leave some note about what was happening. That's a contrivance the writers needed to make this film even doable. It's lazy. Like, the whole film seems to be centered around what would happen if he ran off for a couple years and came back and there was another family. It's like that's how they sold the movie, is what if it was a love triangle now? You have the whole Superman at your disposal.
He's like all moping in the Daily Planet, like, I didn't ever see Lois settling down. Fuck you.
Yeah, it was that fucking I was supposed to be special even though I did everything wrong to this relationship, but you were supposed to treat it differently. It's just shitty behavior. And like, I'm not trying to be 2025 about it. There was shitty behavior in 2006.
It was. There were people, myself included, complaining about it.
That it was mopey and needy and weird. We have a slightly different language for it now, but it's the same shitty behavior.
Yeah, we call it what it is toxic.
Yeah, and then he takes her all the way out to space, right? He takes her all the way back out there just to show her. It's like he chastises her. Like, what do you hear? Nothing? Well, I hear everything.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take you back now that you see how important I am.
Yeah. Your article said the world doesn't need Superman, but what I hear begs to differ. People are crying for me every second. Yeah.
Don't you feel bad about ever writing that article about me? I just can't get behind it. This is not a guy I'm rooting for. And to that extent later, like when the triumphant music happens and he's going to save him and there's a boat and the boat's cracking in half and all that, like when the John Williams Orchestra, I ain't vibing with that. He's saving some weird family that he's not even supporting. He abandoned half of them. I don't know what Richard's role is in this. Richard seems to be a good dude, just like they said. Why are you doing this to Richard?
Yeah.
Like, can anyone treat Richard respectfully? If anything, this movie made me want to go watch Sonic 3, which I'm sure is a better movie.
Maybe. Probably. On top of that, though, I mean, yeah, he's got the look down. Yeah, he's got elements. I won't say all of them, but he's got revisms. But
Ruth or Ralph?
Ralph, yeah. Brandon Routh has revisms. But
one of my notes is just that I think he does such a good impression of Reeve at times that he unfortunately recreates the bad parts.
I think he creates his own bad parts. Like, for instance, I don't think there's a difference between, like, he doesn't fully do Clark the way Reeve did for him to have been supposed to be the same character, but he also doesn't have, like, a really terribly different persona as Superman. You know what I mean?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. I feel like there are moments where I can see he's trying. And I definitely, early on in the movie, when he's bumbling around the office, all that nervousness, I felt like that was a beat-for-beat impression of Reeve at times.
Yeah.
I do feel like last half of the movie, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But again, back to the point, maybe you shouldn't have made such a long movie. You kind of lost track of some of your own themes.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but Brandon Routh seems too young. He might not have been, but he seemed too young to have had all this back history with.
I think that's fair.
With Lois. And Lois definitely seemed too young. And she was. She was 22 when what's her name? Kate Bosworth was 22 when she was playing this Lois. And that is entirely too young.
I agree. That's about 10, maybe even 15 off now from where they should be.
I mean, she was 16 years older than the kid playing her son. She did not look... she looked like she was 16 herself at the time.
True, yeah.
I
hadn't thought about it.
I had
You're right,
no
though.
point.
Neither of them look like they're continuations of Margot and Chris.
No.
Especially 5 years past.
No. Not at all. Not at all. It's an odd thing.
Although Lex looks about right. It does seem like time stopped in that sense.
Yeah. This Jimmy Olsen is loud and obnoxious, and I want to hit him.
I liked him.
I didn't like him.
I did, but I've always liked that actor. He I don't know why. It's something I've run across a couple times, and I always liked him. Those two work together. And
you a big Jungle to Jungle fan?
Is that a thing?
That's where my wife knew him from. She was like, "It's so and so from Jungle to Jungle," and I'm like, okay, what?"
I have
Tim Allen movie.
That guy. Oh God, yeah, that is what
Disney Tim Allen thing.
Yeah, I believe that's the one that I saw the cover of the other day and thought, "Ooh, that probably held up very poorly." He is just one of those people that I've seen occasionally and always enjoyed him there. They did a movie. Him and Ralph did one called Dylan Dog or Detective Dylan Dog, whatever that thing.
Oh, I hated that movie.
Detective Dog.
I know. I know what it is. Dylan Dog. Yeah.
Dylan Dog. Yeah. I don't think it was a great movie, but I did like it.
I hated it.
It's
based on a comic strip.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I remember liking it more than I was supposed to and knowing that I was liking it more than it was worth liking.
Uh-huh. That's accurate. Because I just, oh God, I hated it with every fiber of my being.
Yeah.
I was like, this seems neat. And oh God. No.
It was not great. I think I specifically had like a bottle of wine sitting aside that night to kill with that movie. And it did.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan. Hey, here's a thing that I hate. Everyone is shocked when Clark comes back to the Daily Planet. They're all like, every time they're like, oh, Clark! But they all knew he was coming back because they had a cake. And Perry had already hired him. And everyone knew he was coming back, but they were all surprised. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's just sloppy, dude.
They just thought that was like next Thursday, not this Thursday, you know?
Yeah, what's that about?
Yeah. I mean, the cake got delivered early, so that's cool. So, like, whew, happy accident, but like, whew, you're here already? Oh, God. Was not prepared.
All right. Here's another thing. When Lois is on that plane, the one that has the shuttle attached to it.
The first time she should have died in the movie.
Yeah. I still don't know why that shuttle was on the plane. I don't know. But
why it was there it's supposed to like piggyback the plane takes the shuttle up to a certain spot and then it jettisons off and then it can get into the atmosphere. It's just a piggyback thing.
Okay. But they were talking about how this was going to like make airfare cheaper for people or something.
Yeah, that part makes no fucking sense.
I don't know what that was about. But Lois is asking a question. She's like, how much will it cost to go on this plane for average people or whatever? She's being kind of shitty about it, you know? And the woman says, that information is available in your press packet. And I was like, bitch, you're a reporter. Read your press packet.
I did side with the hostess there. So it's that. There's some other line she says where she gets like the response is basically, this is a Wendy's. And I think it was something about like, you know, when the technical blah, blah, blah. And she's like, that's going to be for like the after discussion. Like we're in the middle of the event right now and you can ask the technical questions after we get done. When we're down the flight. Like I get that a little bit. Good point. I think that the person hosting that probably enjoyed watching Lois get banged around the inside of that.
Yeah.
That was another point. Lois should have died many times. I don't think this movie has a real good understanding of just what happens to bodies when you put them into big things and then shake them around a lot. Like, you just slammed her against every side of the inside of an airplane. Like she's injured several times, if not dead.
But also, like, is Bryan Singer one of those dudes who has never actually talked to a woman? Because, like, he does everything in his power to make Lois, like, an old-timey, hysterical, I'm falling... Like, why the fuck does she faint? After all of that in the plane, when he takes off, she's like, swoon, and then passes out.
I don't know. It's...
Why does he... Why does he have Lois?
It's just a trope that they don't need to do right then.
Why does he have Lois go to Richard White, her fiance, the Nepo baby of Perry White, and go, have your uncle get off my back. He's giving me a hard time again. Like, where has the real Lois Lane gone?
I don't know. And that... I didn't think about that, though. She asks him to get off her back about she's trying to write this whole article about a blackout the whole time. And then he's saying, no, write the article about Superman. And then it seems like she was like, Richard, will you get him so I can write the article I want to? But then nothing changes. She ends up getting yelled at just right after that for the Superman thing again. Like later, Clark gets assigned the blackout story.
And also it's weird that Lois calls him Mr. White.
Yeah, I got it.
And the old ones, she calls him Perry.
Perry. It's always been Perry.
Like, they're good like that. She calls him Chief or Perry.
Yeah.
There ain't no Mr. White. What the fuck is that? I don't like it. I don't like it.
There's
people, the people at the Daily Planet are a family, damn it.
Agreed. And
this does not treat it like that.
So what do you think about this one, though? But
yeah,
just in the Daily Planet tropes area, I really hate... this movie made me realize how much I hate it, I think. I hate the idea that Lois can't spell.
Yeah.
I loathe it.
Yeah, sure.
It's just dumb, and I want it to go away. It's not this movie's fault. This movie was continuing the pattern.
Did they do that again?
Yeah, she can't spell. She asks how many F's are in sophisticated.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I don't need that. I want Gunn to leave that one out if at all possible.
Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed.
That one will be one where I go, we didn't have to do that. Okay.
Hopefully Gunn is like, nope, we have spell check now. Let's just never mention that again.
There's that. Yeah, that'd be cool. There's a category of things in this movie that aren't entirely its fault. Just tropes that I've seen over and over again that I didn't like, I've never liked, or just bored with, but none of it is represented well here. And I certainly was bored on top of whatever I was saying.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, Singer makes it to where Lois can't hail her own fucking taxi.
She can't, but, and here's a rare moment of, I think that one was funny. The idea that he can just whistle really loud. It's not like, it's something that he should be able to do within his current skill set. That's not weird, that he can just be able to go and that, get like a proper whistle.
Yeah.
I liked that. If you're going to Donnerize things where you sort of exaggerate it's almost Lestering, but like when you just sort of exaggerate his powers just for the comedy of it, make up shit because you want to, that one's not a bad one. Mm-hmm. Even have the little dog go like, but it hurt his ears too. Yes, this is a very abusive. This is a very dog abusive Clark.
Yeah, dog abusive Clark, and just woman abusive in general.
Yeah,
because by the way, not only is Bosworth's Lois, not only does she just like have the personality of a rice cake, she's also like a neglectful mother. Mm-hmm. Forgets to pick her kid up, and then also decides, oh, well, I tracked this power outage down to this boat. How about you and me go trespassing?
Yeah, one of my notes somewhere
Small child.
Lois is bad at investigating things.
Small child who is weak
whom
and
I'm responsible
sickly.
For. I've been trading out your inhaler cartridges this whole movie in the background, but yes, let's investigate this very dangerous blackout that I shouldn't be investigating real quick. This movie doesn't think that Lois has to be realistic at all. It cartoonizes the fuck out of her. Mm-hmm. Like we're way past. Like this was more offensive than the orange juice as far as making her a pile of nonsense.
A pile of nonsense, absolutely.
Like
there was also a lot of other piles of nonsense, like Perry going, "These pictures are iconic, and they were taken by a 12-year-old with a camera phone." Not with that quality.
Not with that fucking quality. No fucking way.
No.
Nuh-uh. In 2006. But fuck your ass. No fucking way. Although I did like that Perry.
Yeah, he's a fine Perry. It's just, this movie was so forgettable. People are like freaking out about shit. Like, oh, James Gunn's Superman doesn't do truth, justice, and the American way anymore. How dare he? No one remembers the backlash from Superman Returns when that trailer came out and Perry goes, does he still stand for truth, justice, all that stuff? And everyone flipped the fuck out because how dare they cut out the American way? And they didn't say woke back then, but that's what they were saying.
That was the intention, yeah.
They were like, oh, God, the liberals got them.
It was anti-patriot. So, like, that same, there was a post 9/11 kind of thing. Yeah, we were deeply in the middle of that. We didn't have words for it yet. It became there's a whole fucking thing. But yes, like that was seen as anti-patriotic or whatever. And I wondered though when I heard that, because he even says like political, truth, justice, and then he leaves that out deliberately. But like, didn't Superman and Lois get a headline for fucking with the same thing like 2 years ago? Probably. They did some episode where it was just going to be like truth, they messed with the phrrise. I forget what they did. Yeah. They adulterated it. And it was fine. Like it was one of those where I thought it was fine because they were just going to be in more. It wasn't American anymore. It was more inclusive. God forbid you do things like that. But like,
I know
they weren't the first to fuck with it though. And the American way thing was always in that category of like, this is why in God is in the play. In God, or in God we trust is on the money. Kind of like we did a lot of inserting of phrases around the 50s that were just weird, and they've stuck.
I think In God We Trust was the 40s, wasn't it?
It was the 40s, and there was like the stuff with the pledge. I forget, what is the phrase? Under God in the pledge or whatever. Like we didn't need that. We threw stuff in. We did stuff like that. So like the American way was something that like we had some nationalism in the 50s that also had some America has this habit of being like over Christian and over nationalistic at the same time, and it turns into Christian nationalism. But like we do these things and like phrases sneak in, and like that was one of them. Truth, Justice, and the American Way was just like something that was it was an over patriotic insertion at the time.
You were right. It was 1957.
57?
For In God We Trust on the money. You know where it showed up before?
I wasn't even being particular about the 50s, just that area, you know.
That phrase showed up before or on the Nazi belt buckles.
Nice. Some of those belt buckles were guns.
Uh-huh.
Last ditch fuck yous from whatever commander you just had. Anyway, the point was it was a phrase that was always a bit contrived. To make it however many years later a big point of contention is just kind of the stupid fucking thing we do. Mm-hmm. And I'm honestly glad to hear you said that it did get a little bit of press at the time. I didn't remember that.
Oh, it totally did. By the way, just for clarity, the phrase did first appear on our currency in 1864 on the 2-cent piece.
Oh, fun.
So it had some coin life before all the others. 57 was the paper money.
See, now later I got to go back and look at whether the phrase 2 cents is related to the actual 2-cent piece.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That'll be a waste of my ADD energy later, though.
I'm just remembering the Stephen Wright joke. It's a penny for your thoughts, but you have to throw your 2 cents in. Someone somewhere is making a penny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So things that don't hold up well.
Oh, okay.
That was a law. That was the most intense fax I've ever seen sent.
Oh my God. But you know what? I did actually note that as being the most suspenseful part of the fucking film.
I have a contender, and this is one of the moments where me and you have a habit of we'll rip it apart, and then at the end we're like, all right, here's 3 sincere things we liked.
Yeah.
Here's one of mine, I guess. The helplessness right before, like when they're going under in the boat, and Lois has been knocked out, which by the way, knocked the fuck out by that door. Like she's not alive. She died 3 times in this movie.
Yeah.
No fucking way she lives.
Yeah. And then for all of that to know that, like, she eventually just buys it from, like, a gas bomb the Joker puts in the Daily Planet, you know?
Yeah.
In Crisis, you remember? That's why Brandon Routh is all mopey and shit in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Why can't he just be fucking normal Superman, for Christ's sake?
Yeah, of course. Of course. God, what was I getting at? What was the bitching? I was going to do that one.
She got hit in the head with that door and passed out.
Thank you. The helplessness there. All right, so that specific spot, they're going down. It's those 3. There's just nothing but a few inches of air, and they're watching they watch the water come over, and then it gets darker. Like it was claustrophobic. Direction wise, they cut it down to just the breathing. Mm-hmm. It gets physically darker, and then it gets like extremely loud when the boots hit the outside. I really like that scene. I thought that was incredibly well done. I felt the despair, the claustrophobia, the hopelessness right before the boots actually hit. I loved it.
Yeah, that was good.
I thought it was intense as shit. And then immediately followed, but again, it's immediately followed by the music. I made it 4 seconds of sincerity into this film before I was like, okay, but he's saving them, and then like, are they going to tell Richard that that's his boy? Does he know, or who?
It certainly seems that he knows.
And then later when he's like, do you have him? Like, him and Richard need to have a sit down over several beers.
Yeah.
Several. Richard is owed that at least.
So we had our little bit where we were talking about Parker Posey overacting, and you were like, I don't know why she was screaming like that with the breaks. Did you catch that? Yes, she was in on the plan. It was all part of a plan. But when the next time she sees Lex, she's like hitting him and yelling about how he actually cut her brakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like, I was just going to pretend. Did you actually cut my brakes? He's like, I did like that part.
That is the scene that I was so disappointed with, because like the way she's yelling at him is just so.
It is. It's over. It's
so
still
slobbery. It's slobbery almost. Like I felt like she was spitting at him.
I just didn't buy it the way she did it. I didn't buy it.
It doesn't fit. And then it gets creepy because he's like, a man can always tell when you're pretending. God damn it, y'all. Stop. Yeah. This whole fucking movie is obsessed with vaginas in a way that is completely distracting. I just want anything in this movie to have a plot point that's not weird.
I feel like it was obsessed with diminishing women.
Yes.
It wasn't obsessed with vaginas in the same way that Man of Steel was.
Yeah, I mean it in the reductive sense. Like this is not a movie that's in any way having healthy relationships that we're excited for. It is all a movie of people doing things that they're going to regret later. Even I just don't like any of the motivations here, man. They all suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here's a dumb thing. Lois says to Clark, or says to Superman, "Will you be around?" And he says, "I'm always around."
Yeah.
And I'm like, not for the last 5 fucking years.
No.
Asshole.
First, lie. And 2, in the context of the rest of this movie where you've been stalky, that is not comforting.
Right?
You're doing creepy IRL audiobook reproductions of your little spaceship lessons with your boy in there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess behind anybody's, you just sneaking in the. It's just no. Just no.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Lex shows us maps of his new sea monkey Kryptonian crystal land.
Mm-hmm.
How does this motherfucker already know exactly how the crystals will form those land masses?
He watched the one, I guess, and
no,
he's just all over it now.
Just fuck that. That's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid. I don't like it. I don't accept it.
Yeah. You don't have to.
Now, when they were on the island though, and Lex is like, "Oh, it's time for us to go." Mm-hmm. That made me laugh. I really liked that line.
That was good.
It's like, I, however, hated that he just kept yelling, "What did you do?" after she dumped the crystals. Like, what do you think she did? She did it on purpose because you're going too far.
Yeah, and it's a tropey weird line to yell at somebody that I don't like anyway.
Like, you are a genius, supposedly. Like, why you didn't see this coming when her like repeatedly asking you, are billions of people really gonna die? Like, she's been in like stroke phase for 15 minutes staring at you and sobbing.
Yeah. Like, she is clearly not into this. And then you just hand her the crystals. And by the way, her plan was to just toss them outside the helicopter real quick. Dude, yeah. I know you were getting in the helicopter to leave, but he clearly gets out to just simply go retrieve them.
Yeah.
Short of the Deus Ex Machina of the whole thing falling apart at just the right second for you to have gotten away with that. Like, if the whole thing holds up for like 4 more seconds, he just walks over there, grabs the crystals, walks inside, punches her out probably, and like for betraying him, and lifts off. Like, he probably just tosses her out of the helicopter, to be real, and moves on with his day. It's just no.
Yeah, and by the way, the henchmen, as they're like all trying to flee this landmass and
without their SAG cards,
and like and this giant thing of like rock and crystal is like falling forward. Yeah. Are they not able to see shadows?
I guess not. I kind of looked at that.
I'm like, closely. Strafe, motherfucker, strafe.
Yeah. I looked at it real closely, and like at the last second, I think one of them tries to like move to the right or something. Like, okay, sure.
All right. Well,
I mean, I guess it's hard enough that if all of that falls, it will crush those 3. Because sure, it should. But it's also, the substance is not so hard that when that stupid little boat biplane hits it with a wing, it breaks it instead of the wing.
Mm-hmm.
No.
All right. So, this is this movie has too many endings, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is a Singer's thing. Well, that and assaulting minors. Really didn't need
days of the week.
Huh?
Days of the week,
Yeah. I kind of just kept feeling like, okay, well, this is a good point. This is a good time to end it. You save the Lois and her cock and her sickly boy.
Mm-hmm.
And no, okay. Well, now you got to go. Okay, all right. You catapulted that thing into space. But, the sun is right there. You should probably heal pretty quickly. Oh, no? Okay, you're going to drift back down to Earth. Oh, okay. Well, good thing the sun still shines on Earth. Oh, no? You got to go to the hospital now. Okay.
Yeah. What was the hospital supposed to do, man? And I almost get that if you were, look, if I just saw Superman appear to die, I would feel the need to do something. I guess I'll take him to the hospital. I don't know what else to do.
Right.
I would feel bad just not doing anything. So I guess we'll just throw the book at it and see what happens. I'm okay with the motivation of the hospital crew. And they even make it kind of a fun, like, it's supposed to be a poignant scene. The city tries, there's all those people staring and they just watch him. I don't know what it does for the movie.
Yeah.
My problem isn't the scene. The problem is what did you accomplish for the movie?
And
do we have to kill him again? Jesus fucking Christ.
Richard and Lois and the kid, they've all got to come down to the hospital. And, they're trying to use the thing. And, we got his heart working again, but it blew out everything, every circuit. And, we tried to give him a shot and the needle broke. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just all such, it's so tiresome.
Yeah.
And then he gets out. And it's back to stalkering.
It's back to stalkering. There's no big announcement. He just gets out. Like, the world has no relationship with Superman. He's there, and then he's not. Like, it makes sense that she's out there writing articles about why we need him or don't need him, because he just comes and goes as he pleases. I mean, that's a good point. Was Singer working out some shit, or were the writers working out some stuff about theology while they were doing this movie too? Like, were they feeling like they were prayers unanswered that they were having to deal with or some shit? Like,
I don't know, man. Like, there was a couple of, there was a cool, bit where he catches the Daily Planet globe, and it's like
a great shot.
It was like Atlas, with the world on his shoulders. That was dope.
Well, so again, to the highlights here. So the bigger scenes, you can tell where the money went, you can tell where the effort went, and I think it was worth it. Those scenes look good. Mm-hmm. They still look pretty good. They don't look as good as they would now. Probably. I say that. People are overworked these days in CGI houses. So, God knows, you might get it. It might look better than it could now. But a lot of the big scenes, like the flight thing, the whole thing where he saves the plane, everything where he takes the whole island of kryptonite out of there. The big tentpole moments really did look good.
Yeah. I don't know why the guy, after unloading an entire machine gun into Superman's chest, decided to step out from it and shoot him in the eye with a handgun.
I don't know either, but it makes a great fucking moment.
It looks cool.
Looks cool as shit, and that little smirk afterward from the barrel's perspective, that was good.
That smirk shit. May have been the best part of the movie.
It might have. That was good shit though. I don't know where the good stuff comes from when the other stuff is that bad. Sometimes.
No. I just wish that the obligatory kid being abused didn't have to be Lois's kid.
Yeah.
If we're going by Donner stuff. There's always got to be a kid getting slapped or abused in some way.
It's never going to work out for at least one minor in that film. Well, you know what? Even if we put Jason aside, you still have the little girl that's going to be traumatized by the man walking out and tossing her his head. Mm-hmm. She got Dutch angled and everything.
Oh, yeah. And then behind the scenes, you've got Spacey and Singer on a set. So I'm sure there was some real life stuff happening.
Yeah, which can't.
Jesus, God.
Can't be good. Of the people here, you hate it for Ralph because you can tell how much you wanted it. He looks great. He looks great in that outfit, man. God, he looks like a Superman.
I don't care for the outfit.
Well, it's not the outfit so much. He looks good in it. I forget how much 20 years ago that man looked like he should be a fucking Clark Kent Superman. He looks like he was designed explicitly for the role.
Yeah, that's why he was signed.
Yeah,
to his agency. Yeah.
Even the little bits with the Arrowverse that we got later. I'm glad we squeezed whatever we could out of him in that uniform, in some capacity.
I wouldn't mind seeing him do it again.
That was the thing. Is let me pluck a little bit of this out. I would actually, if you got to just take him out of everything else that happened in this movie and try, it'd be great. But I wouldn't even have to begin to extract it. Mm-hmm. Nothing else in the film makes sense enough to do. I can't. You can't really work around that.
Yeah.
You can't take him out, and then I'd have to bring back so many other people for him to go through a round of apologies about his behavior in this movie just to make him make sense enough to do the one I would want to do later. like an actual Superman film.
Yeah.
It gets to, and here's where we are, and we're all right. So it's 8:52 p.m. by my clock right this second. We're 48 hours away from kind of finishing Superman 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And I've hit this point. I told you about it yesterday. I do not believe. So Man of Steel is now my exception. I don't believe we've ever made a good Superman movie. So Man of Steel, I've always loved. I've loved it since the time it hit the theater. I love it still now. I've defended it straight through the Cavill years and will continue to do so. But I think it's the only one that we've ever made that was a good film.
I mean, I have my hangups with it for sure. And I love the first one. I love Superman the movie. And I enjoy parts of all of them. But yeah, like at the end of this thing, my wife looked at me. She's like, "What do you think your favorite Superman movie is?" And I don't know, just glared into the damn middle distance of existentialism itself and found the words "Man of Steel" tumbling out of my mouth.
As though your mouth was automatic writing them.
And she was like, "Not BVS?" And I was like, "No, that's a Batman movie wearing a fucking Superman pantyhose on his face."
Yeah.
Like,
it's a Batman movie that has like a Superman cape it puts on occasionally. I get it. I didn't expect to. Here's where we started like 6 weeks ago.
I mean, I do want to go back and rewatch Superman and the Mole Men.
I do want to see that one too. But here's where we are. So the journey I've been down personally is 6 weeks ago, if you'd asked me, I think that's about how long we've been doing this little run of the movies, is I kind of thought, because I haven't seen, and in my recent memory, I have not seen any of the Reeve movies. Quest for Peace, but I just thought, that was 10 years ago, and I thought it was kind of an aberration as it stood. I thought that was just kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was the culmination of what I am calling now 4 continuously worse movies. So, like, for me, is the most salvageable. I mean, as far as movies go, it's the closest to being kind of a movie in a way, but like or something I could go back and really defend. But the rest we just know. We just know at 2, 3, and 4 just a progressive loss of quality. And I kind of thought, because of how much has been spoken, because of the nostalgia, because of just the assumed presence of the 78 movies, that they were better than they were. Mm-hmm. And I was wrong. I think that's the myth we've built around it. There's this nostalgic bubble around it that, like, it is not that good. And I
think that the Superman the movie carried a lot of that weight, honestly. Like the first one, like before Richard Lester came in and dumbed it down and made it more comic booky, like Puzo and Mankiewicz and Donner were shooting for something more epic. They wanted something, deeply cinematic and gratifying. And, we're going to get this again, where the fucking studio and the people in charge, producers, were like, they started messing with stuff and changing stuff and firing directors and making it more goofy. And, we've seen that before. We've seen that recently. But I do think I have a deep appreciation for Superman 78 and for everything it did and for what it means for comic book movies now. And the precedent it set, it was the way it made people take it seriously in a time where no one was taking comic book movies seriously. But the problems I have with 78 are the same problems roughly that I have with Man of Steel when I really think about it. Like Pa Kent, his death, stupid. And both. Like, it's important for Clark to get that lesson that, like, he can't save everybody.
Yeah.
But you ain't gonna tell me that, like, Clark playing with that damn dog, and then
less dumb than the
he's playing with a dog and doesn't hear his dad's heart stop or him like collapse. Like Ma Kent hears it, and then he doesn't try to at least like run his dad to the hospital. We just saw your ass running. No. That's as dumb, if not dumber, than Clark Kent in Man of Steel. The coroner's
report on every Kent so far has read plot. Died from complications of plotism.
Actually, you know what? I won't even say that about John Kent in Smallville. I think that one was a good one.
I was just talking about the movies there.
Yeah. In Man of Steel, like, he doesn't know how to fly. He doesn't know how to do half the shit that he winds up knowing how to do. And yeah, it's dumb that Henry Cavill was playing like a 15-year-old Clark in that scene, but
that was a choice that
That was a weird choice.
That was odd.
I think it makes people forget that he's a kid.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know.
It made it play more petty than it was supposed to.
It did. And also you had 10 years of Smallville that had just happened. We're like, yeah, he's been known his suit. Hold on now.
Yeah.
So all we know is he's strong, or he has tactile telekinesis, whatever. There are versions of it. There are different versions of this in the universe in the comic book. Sometimes he's not super. It's not super strength. It's just tactile telekinesis.
He just wills it there.
But
yeah.
At any rate, he can hear shit, and he hears a lot of voices, and he's got some X-ray shit going on. Maybe a little heat vision. He can't control it. He can't, just like he can't control a boner at that age. For Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But I still have my issues. And a lot of my issues with Man of Steel was solved by pandemic shit. Because I was like, it got an alien invasion going on. People aren't going to be hanging out at IHOP. No, they will.
That was.
They'd be like, ain't no damn alien going to make me feel like I can't do what I do.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to be at my shift and fuck y'all for trying to stop me.
Yeah.
We did find out that the world does not care and will continue. So a lot of that behavior makes sense.
Our literal government said, hey, they're UFOs and we don't know what the fuck to do with it. We don't know what it is. And everyone went, yeah, all right. So anyway, Miley Cyrus was...
Yeah, and about prices, though, and just moved on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Miley and Liam.
Right. Yeah.
Did you hear us? Project Tic Tac. Yeah, we got it. Aliens. Anyway, got to do something. Got to do something about Katy Perry and Russell Brand.
Right. No, we can't keep focused for half a goddamn second. It's a rough thing to keep track of.
All right. You want to do some trivia?
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, this is what I was talking about before. Kal Penn said in some interviews that originally he had a bigger role. It would have been revealed that his character was a disgraced former Daily Planet science reporter who was bribed by Lex Luthor to plant false evidence of Krypton's possible survival, thus inspiring Superman to leave Earth and explore Krypton's ruins.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You caught the "is still the safest way to travel" thing, right? The flying. Mm-hmm. How that's what he said to Lois when she almost died on the helicopter in '78.
Yep.
Brandon Routh, Kate Bosworth, and Kevin Spacey all signed on without having read the script, so that explains that.
I mean, no. Look, respected director at the time, we're going to reboot these things. Look, there's these other films that by the 2000s were already, the nostalgia bubble had kicked in hard, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did just sign on.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, God. When offered the director's chair, Bryan Singer rejected J.J. Abrams' script as too far a departure from the source material. Abrams' story reimagined Superman as a Kryptonian prince sent to Earth as a baby to avoid an impending civil war between King Jor-El and his brother Kata-Zor. Raised as Midwestern teen Clark Kent and in love with his high school sweetheart Lois, Superman becomes humanity's defender when Kata-Zor invades Earth, aided by CIA agent Lex Luthor, who is actually a Kryptonian in disguise. The film ends with Superman returning to Krypton to rule over his people after the death of Jor-El. Singer disagreed with these changes to one of America's most well-known characters and decided instead to pursue a storyline to act as both a sequel and soft reboot, which would honor the character's history as well as the popular films by Richard Donner. I feel like he did neither of those things.
Yeah, he did neither. He rejected that JJ script for all the right reasons and then did everything wrong after that.
Yeah.
Like, JJ, what the hell are you on, buddy? That is some... You wrote another movie.
That's
a
Bryan
whole different
Singer,
franchise.
It is. When Bryan Singer became interested in possibly hiring Brandon Routh, he arranged for them to meet in a coffee shop. When they met at the table, Routh stumbled and spilled hot coffee all over the table. Although he panicked, thinking he had just lost the part, Singer laughed and said it actually helped him get the part. The incident convinced Singer that Routh could pull off the clumsy, bumbling Clark, and then he did almost nothing with that.
True. It would have been a funny thing to recreate the coffee at least or something, but No, nothing. Very little bumbling. If anything, there was anti-bubbling. Like, he catches things he's not supposed to. And like, the first introduction of him being back at the Daily Planet is he like catches something that somebody dropped, or like the camera. Yeah, it was the camera.
Mm-hmm. The camera, the expensive ass camera that Jimmy can't operate better than a 12-year-old can operate a Nokia.
A Nokia, flip phone Nokia.
Yeah.
We could probably still go shoot something with that Nokia and see what the pictures are like.
Oh, they're awful.
That particular phone is probably still alive if someone has it.
They're re-releasing a lot of those.
If you're just looking for durability, I don't blame you.
Yeah. Singer wanted Christopher Reeve to make a cameo appearance in the film, but Reeve died before filming began.
Sure.
Singer then decided to dedicate the film to him. Amy Adams auditioned for the role of Lois. It's kind of neat.
It is. Would have been too young then for her too. Would be my only objection.
Been. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It definitely would have been.
I liked her where we found her later, was my other objection.
Bryan Singer is on record as saying Superman Returns is a loose follow-up to Superman and Superman 2, but does not follow those movies' continuity strictly. No kidding.
Yeah.
It ignores Superman 3 and Superman 4. However, there is a reference to Supergirl. Yeah, which was released between the later two. A radio announcer reports Superman is off on a space mission to a faraway galaxy.
Right.
During production, to prepare for the part of Lex Luthor, Kevin Spacey would ride on a cart he named Lex's Superbuster across the studio backlot, with images of Superman crossed out, Kryptonite on the side, and even a Superman plush chained to the back and dragged across the ground. He would even shout on the microphone, "Superman must die, kill Superman, kill him, kill Superman."
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things I was going to say in this review before we got to all this, and I never did, I was so excited about this movie that I started watching Bryan Singer's video journals of filming that they were putting up on the internet every day. And with every video journal, I became less excited.
Oh.
Seems like a good time to point that out.
That does make sense.
I was just seeing like the atmosphere and what they were going for and like the aesthetic of the movie. And I was like, no.
And then you saw it and you're like, yeah, that was not misrepresentative at all. This did not work out. I didn't tell you how I saw this movie. So me and the wife were trying to figure out the time frame. Like, I know when I saw it. I can't figure out who I must have seen it with now. So there was somebody beside me, but I downloaded this movie. Like, this was the heavy days of DVD rips and stuff. So like,
yeah,
I had a download of this thing, and it was a good one. It was a pretty good rip, but it was upside down.
Oh, and
the codec pack that I had at the time couldn't undo that. So we hung, me and somebody else, hung our heads off the end of my bed to watch the movie.
Yeah.
And we just kind of took breaks when we were like, okay, I gotta sit up for a while. So we just pause it and sort of sit up and be like, all right, go back down.
That's fine. You still need breaks in this movie.
Yeah. So I have not watched this movie without breaks at all. I just realized.
Man. Though it performed below box office expectations, not only did it outgross Batman Begins, but it was the second highest grossing DC Comics film ever made at the time after Batman of 1989. Now,
it made like 400 something, didn't it?
No, it didn't even make that.
So the figure I thought I saw was made for roughly 2 and some change and made roughly 4 and some change, I thought. Like, it doubled it, but it was nowhere near what they wanted, I thought.
I don't think it doubled it. I think I might have it somewhere. Hold on.
I'm curious now.
There are of course different reports on what it actually cost and what the budget was, but
of course, that's always going to vary.
Yeah, it does look like I did read a thing where it said they didn't. There's the rule that it needs to make like at least 2 times its budget, and it did not do that. Yeah, it was like costing $204 million. This was the second most expensive superhero film ever produced at the time. Let's see. I'm skipping a bunch of stuff just trying to find these numbers.
Just the raw figure.
Yeah, because there were a couple of different versions of this. Well, I don't know where it is now. But yeah, it didn't make its money back, technically. It did, but it didn't. because it has to be a certain percentage. If we trust Wikipedia, the budget was 223 million, or no, 204 million, and the box office take worldwide was 391.1 million.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's worldwide. It's not domestic.
Yeah, that's probably about in line.
Yeah. But with that budget, I don't know if that was
345 even with inflation was like the highest number I could find. So yeah, that's
So, but I don't know if the budget was including all these previous versions of.
I didn't know. One version of that I saw even said that it was that amount, but it didn't make some of the marketing back because marketing sometimes included in part of the budget and sometimes kept separately.
Yeah.
And like you said, so we don't know which movie, like which scripts got folded into this as false starts.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing is the unfortunate part of this is they do all that. They'll bury it all in the financials for what they've made, what they put into the production budget of the movie. They'll bury all of that in there and then still expect you to make twice of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fair lift.
No, it's not.
When you get away with it, great. It means you've made so much money that you can't. It would be irresponsible not to make another one. But like, it's not exactly a good test.
Yeah. Well, they know what the numbers are. They have those numbers floating around. They're like, that's why it's so important to realize when the internet's going, ha ha ha, it was a flop. They spent this amount and that's what it looked like. They're counting other shit too, man.
Yeah.
They're not just counting the what it cost to make this movie. There is stuff before that they are hacking in there for tax purposes.
Yeah.
And that's why they'll be like, well, how did it get a sequel? It didn't make us. No, but they know what it actually cost. That
part is so annoying because sometimes you'll see the exact version of that is like, well, we spent $200 on it. And they'll act like they really did spend that money just when it's convenient. And then later, well, it was really this. It's all just what's convenient to explain after the fact. Like, it's very frustrating.
Yep. All right. So the shot of Superman placing Kitty's car on the ground is a visual homage to the cover of Action Comics #1, where Superman made his debut. Did you catch that?
Oh yeah. It's even green.
Good. I was worried. I was worried you didn't know that one.
That one was that one is smattered across my office, that particular image. But I think that one, I think you and I talked about that one recently because I want to say when Superman and Lois did it a couple of years ago, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe someone did this finally. And somebody puts a screen, like a side by side, like, no, this is, at this point, it's basically an homage to an homage.
Mm-hmm. And now we're in a world where Superman is opening, and then like 2 weeks later, Fantastic Four is opening, and they are literally doing the same fucking shot. Like, they are homaging Superman with, like, I think the Thing picking up and putting down a green car. That looks like the one from Action. It's ridiculous.
No, that's fantastic.
All previous scripts revolved in one way or another around the death and subsequent return of Superman. Jonathan Limpkin wrote a draft in which Superman impregnates Lois before he dies. She gives birth soon thereafter, also dying in the process, and a fully grown new Superman emerges to save the world. Limpkin's work was quickly discarded.
Why? These are great examples of just.
Would be great is if Lois was a incubation husk.
Yeah. That'll really zhiv this up. I don't understand why some people's approach to writing this movie was to come in and write another movie.
Oh, just a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There was some story I heard recently about one of the BTS writers where that was the advice they were given. I think it was from Andrea Romano, who, like, they got a break where they were like, oh, cool. They asked you to write that story. That's awesome. He writes you that story that way, right? Oh, man, that's cool. So you're going to, hear me out now. You're going to go home and write the story that way, right? And she was very, very heavily coaching him to not go home and get too goddamn creative today. You have your assignment. Write that story.
Why would it be Andrea Romano?
I think it was her. I want to go back and listen to this now. It was on the it's the podcast you keep showing me TikTok things of that now I've gotten obsessed with.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just called Batman the Animated Series podcast. Great little thing with two English brothers that are apparently from America. Anyway, they're a lovely little podcast. But I think one of the writers said it was her. If it wasn't her, it had to be somebody. I think it was another female that was on set around that time. But she was one of the more producery people around that show at the time. I'm forgetting who it must be. But the advice
Andrea was casting director. But.
She was, but she was also doing some voice direction. But I think that it was that she would just knew everyone well enough that she was giving him some mentorship here.
Yeah, she was voice director.
But like, I don't think she was doing it like as part of her job. I think the idea was that she was just trying to look out for this dude and be like, hey, what would be a great idea is not fuck this up.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's the same. It's the advice that everyone here appears to have needed is, it'd be a great idea is if you went home and wrote a Superman movie.
Mm-hmm.
With that contract you have to write a Superman movie. Throwing it out there.
So Milliskin is a type of spandex, and that was what they used as the material for Superman's suit. Unfortunately, this cloth restricts movement when it's new. Worse, it sags after being worn, and it becomes comfortable. As a result, 80 suits, 100 capes, 30 boots, and 90 belts were made.
Holy shit! That's a wardrobe. What did it look that good to be worth all that?
I hated the suit. There aren't many blues that I would say are ugly, but that's one of them.
Wow, I'll go back and look at that. I didn't register that, but the
red was ugly. The blue was. I don't like that suit.
I want to go look at it more closely now, but you just described material. They were like, what if we use this material? The only problem with the material is it has two features, which are the exact thing you cannot have for a material. Other than that, the major two disqualifying features, we think we can use this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a weird choice. But
it is a weird choice. But also I feel like I don't like almost anything about that suit. Like the material looks weird. The cut of the trunks, he looks like he's a swimmer.
I'm just not.
The shield is so small. I don't know.
The shield's a little small. I don't think I had any problems with the suit, though, as it stands. Although the award for best costuming in this movie goes to Lex's coat.
Sure.
That white coat is better than a lot of the things in this movie.
I did really enjoy when, they had put that little microscopic chip of crystal into that water, and Lex just quietly moved to the back of the room.
Mm-hmm. I laughed at that. That is about the Lexiest thing I saw him do. He just Simpsons Bush gifts it out of there.
Mm-hmm. I did enjoy that.
Nope. I think everyone eventually joined him on that wall. In the next shot of it, they come back and everyone's back there, but he did not stop to tell everyone else that would be a good idea.
Yeah, the lights start to come back on, and they're looking around for Lex and realize he's in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
That's a perfect Lex move right there.
All right, let's see. Brandon Routh has naturally brown eyes. Superman, on the other hand, has baby blue eyes. For his role, Routh had to wear blue contacts. When asked in an interview how they made his eyes blue, he said, blue prescription contacts because I wear contacts myself. They were a little bit infuriating because they were painted. There was white around them, and I could blink and they'd shift. I think they'd had to go and retouch some stuff, I'm sure. My wife didn't like she said they were too blue.
I don't mind the too blue part. They don't have to be that fucking blue, though.
Yeah, they did look I kind of liked it because it was I like the idea that his eyes are so blue that it's the only thing just looking at him that you would think, God, you look like an alien.
They are a little off-putting, but
yeah,
it's not. It's one of the things where like David Bowie's eyes are off-putting, but in a way that's charming. Where you're like, I just want to learn more about this enigmatic man, and I don't need that for Superman. He just doesn't need.
Right.
He just needs eyes. That is not necessary.
Yeah. I think too blue is better than just black squints. Like the old days, I
guess. I mean,
you remember in the old days, in the old comics, they would just draw two little lines for his eyes. He was always squinting.
Yeah. It was just easier that way. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah. I don't know.
And his eye in the old comics, his eyes are not blue. I mean, they're like maybe when they did a close up or something, but for the most part, they're just little black squiggle under a line for most of the action that you're seeing in here.
It's like one of those big black caterpillars under that are hanging out on fig trees and shit.
Right.
And then like a little line underneath it. So it's eyebrow, eye. Okay.
Of course.
If they even bothered with that, because some of those old comics, you'd think they were just like, oh my God, I've got to draw like the smallest possible version of this character in the smallest possible box.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know it was detail oriented, but still just weird. One trope I didn't pick on that just, it was in here that I'll never care about. I don't. The thing where you're getting, so he gets just like, they're in beatdown mode at some point. They've got him out in the prison yard kind of thing, and they're just going to beat him. They're just going to kick him to death or whatever the fuck. It's that scene, the crawling away. I hate the crawling away. Why do people do the crawling away?
I mean, you got to try to do something.
Yes, but can you do something better? Like maybe flail at a foot or something, or just, I don't know. Just the mindless, I'm going to crawl a little bit slowly. I don't understand it. It's the kind of behavior that like I could make like a borderline mindless animal, just like a bug, like an insect that's just it's the lowest level of life form I can make sense of. I just don't. It's a trope I can't stand.
I've done the crawl away.
I don't get it.
I've done the crawl away.
I just don't get it. Okay, maybe
if they won't let you up. There's nowhere you can go, and you're just trying to crawl to get away. And then you could just kind of hope that you come across something on the floor that you could just take in hand and start beating the fuck out of somebody with.
So, all right, there's that. So exactly that. So like in this, it's just a crawl away. Like in this, and so in the crawling away scene in movies usually is like you'll see the crawl and then they'll do like a little pan to a gun, that's further away. There's none of that here. He's just crawling. They just kind of slow. It's just a long scene where she's up there crying about it, and they're just kind of walking behind him. Music swells. It's just a long beatdown where there's no goal, there's no plan.
Yeah.
And then they get to the end, he just shanks him. Which, by the way, why shank him in the kidney? Good God. It's just a shitty fucking execution scene.
Yeah.
Poorly done. All the way around.
This Superman weak as fuck, bro.
Yeah.
This Superman nerfed, bro.
This fucking Alan Rickson template they got going over here.
Why is Superman so weak?
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie, Superman doesn't even throw a punch.
I do. I hadn't thought. I forgot about that being a criticism. That the Superman never throws a punch, and
then the next movie, all he does is throw punches.
Yeah.
And be sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't please Superman fans. That's the point.
It made me worry. It did, because like this one, that's where I got to. It from a couple months ago to now. My new thesis being there just never has been a good Superman film. And I only say that being that like I consider Man of Steel a great film. But if you're going to take that from me and say that wasn't good, then okay, I'm saying the rest aren't good. So then that's the landscape we have, is there's never been a good film then. That's where we are, I guess. I don't completely get that. I don't see why you'd get to like, having watched all these, if this is what we're looking for, I don't like. We got the Henry Cavill version, and that still wasn't good enough. It makes you fear for 2025.
I fear nothing.
I don't either for some reasons, but it crossed my mind.
There will be people who hate it, and there will be people who love it, and I'm tired. I'll enjoy it for reasons. And I'm sure there'll be things that I don't love. I already know that there are things I don't love that I've seen in clips and whatever. That I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think every second of this is going to be an absolute thrill ride for me.
All I needed to be,
can be. I mean, how many times am I going to watch Shaun of the Dead in my lifetime? Or I just walk away thinking that was a perfect script. How did they even do that?
Shaun of the Dead is almost perfect for me. Blues Brothers is perfect for me.
Yeah, like 98 and 99%.
Yeah.
Perfectness level. Yeah.
High Fidelity.
Yeah, also
perfect.
They're just, how many times am I going to have that moment though, where I just walk away that play, or even like I said recently, I love Deadpool and Wolverine. Like we left that movie thinking, I don't know, man, I don't know what I could improve here. I think they just fucking nailed this. Like I think that was exciting, heartfelt. I enjoyed the shit out of that. I don't think I don't have like plot points that I'm just like, whoa, wait a second, I can't get over that.
Yeah, it
was just functional and good and fun and entertaining, and there was nothing I had to say about it when I walked away. As far as like, I didn't have 2 hours of snark for that,
Yeah,
that's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Brandon Routh auditioned for the role of Clark Kent in Smallville.
Oh yeah, it'd have been great.
Did you catch the news reports mentioning Gotham?
No.
Yeah, that happened.
Did not.
Hugh Laurie was originally cast as Perry White, but House caused schedule conflicts, so he couldn't do it.
Yeah, he'd have been fun to see here. I did like that actor. I forget where I've seen that guy. He's another one of those just faces that I think I've seen a few times, and I always thought he did a good job.
Yeah. Bryan Singer kept begging Jude Law to play General Zod, and Jude Law turned him down several times. So Singer eventually just eliminated the character from the script. I'm like, watching it here, I'm like, what the fuck would Zod would have done? What would he have done? Like, God, you don't need Zod.
You don't. And I could just be putting too much into it here, but it fits the behavior of the person who storied this movie to just be like, well, I can't have what I want exactly, so we're not doing that role at all.
Yeah, it's weird. In an interview with the Washington Post, Bryan Singer discussed a scene that was in an early draft of the screenplay but never filmed. At one point, Bryan recalls, I had a scene in the script, which I never shot and I probably was never going to shoot, where Superman would be standing, after flying around rescuing people at night, would be standing at dawn, at ground zero, sort of standing there, almost as if to say, had I been here, this might not be.
That would be absolute suicide. Why would you do that? Why would you even put it in the script? Why would that make it outside of your shower? Why would you even consider bringing that to the table? You idiot. I wouldn't have told him about it. I say that. I might tell people about that later in an interview. That might be true.
Yeah.
But I would never put that in.
From a creative standpoint, I like the idea because they were pushing in this movie at times, like there was supposed to be some level of guilt that he had for not being on Earth. He was, he's the reason Lex Luthor didn't stay in prison. Like,
yes, but you can't in 2006 invoke the Two Towers without making your movie about that.
You can't.
That was it's a good edit for him to leave that out, but it wouldn't have made it that far. It shouldn't have made it that far.
Yeah. The model train sequence contains several references to previous Superman movies.
I meant to go back and watch this before we started. Did they add screaming sounds for the...
They sure did.
What the fuck? That
was weird.
I forgot about that. I forgot how much that put... That was one of the times where I had to stop watching. You remember was it in Superman 3 when they crawl, when the road signs start crawling and fighting each other?
Yeah.
That's my moment. When they added screaming sounds
to the little
miniatures in the town.
Yeah.
In the train model train town. This movie lost me there, I think. I think any hope I had that I was ever going to come back went right then. I forgot about that until you said it.
But yeah, like the little model town, they had a woman experiencing trouble with her red car.
Of course.
They had one of the faces of Mount Rushmore crumbling to the ground. They had a person in a chemical plant trapped by flames, which was Superman 3, by the way.
Yeah.
When McG was directing, Robert Downey Jr. was cast as Lex Luthor.
Who was?
Pre-Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr.
Oh. He would have been good.
He
would have been a different direction, but would have been good.
A sequel to this movie was planned with Bizarro and Brainiac as possible villains. However, due to frequent delays, as well as the first film's massive budget and underwhelming box office return, it was canceled. It was to be called Man of Steel, which became the title of the next movie, directed by Zack Snyder. There's also a bit where they were like, yeah, we don't like how much it didn't work, and it was kind of received mid, you know? And then Dark Knight, they were still developing a sequel until Dark Knight came out. And then they were like, no, Christopher Nolan's got to do all the things.
Well, that was one of the frustrations in this movie was that numbers-wise, it wasn't even as that far off. But Batman Begins just got way more traction. Like, people were way more curious about that than this. I don't know what the difference was exactly, but there was just no hubbub whatsoever about this. Like, if there was a Google Trends back at the time, I don't think anyone it wasn't up there.
Well, Batman is Batman.
Batman's Batman. Again, I keep saying it's the most impressive thing about what Gunn's done in the marketing so far is that we're all interested in the Superman movie and not wondering where Batman is.
I think everybody's wondering where Batman is, though.
I mean, sure, a lot of people, but it's been stifling before in a way that I haven't seen it be so much here. Like it pretty famously shut down, Superman 2 to begin with in the Snyder days, but that was just one room, though, obviously.
Jack Larson is, the bartender the old guy in the bow tie.
Yeah, briefly.
That was Jimmy Olsen from Adventures of Superman.
Okay. All right.
Well, the project was under Brett Ratner's supervision. Josh Hartnett, Paul Walker, Matt Bomer, Brendan Fraser, Ashton Kutcher, David Boreanaz, Ian Somerhalder, Henry Cavill, Jerry O'Connell, Victor Brown, Hayden Christensen. They were all considered for Superman. And then Brett Ratner left the project, mostly because he and Warner Brothers could not agree on whom to cast as Superman.
Who'd he want? I mean, those are all... I guess most of those names are people that should have appeared on anyone's list at that time.
Yeah. I don't know who he actually wanted, though.
I don't know who the hill that he chose to die on, apparently.
Yeah. According to an article in the September 12th, 2005 issue of Newsweek, the biggest question concerning Superman's costume involved the size and shape of his dick. It was the bulge in the front of his tights. Yeah. I remember reading that article. Costume designer Louise Mingenbach finally decided on a bulge that wasn't too big. 10-year-olds will be seeing this movie, she explained. This, according to an interview with Margot Kidder, is in stark contrast to when this very same issue that was raised during the making of Superman 1978, of which this film is a soft continuation, where the obviously very non-American Salkind producers kept pushing for a larger bulge, which they perceived to make the character more quote-unquote manly.
This makes it odd. It's such an odd thing to spend time on. I mean, one, we already had a costume, so you've solved this problem, just recreate it. Two, we've had Ken dolls for how many years? Like, they've solved this problem over and over again. You just make a little bulge. Like, it has a proportionate size that people have been using, 10-year-olds have been using for quite some time. Just recreate that.
Yep. The tattoo on the back of Brutus's head is a fairly accurate representation of the clown makeup worn by John Wayne Gacy, a notorious serial killer who raped and murdered at least 33 boys. That is a weird thing for you to stick in your movie.
That is. And
Bryan
is that
Singer.
Why they made the moment where they stopped and she had to look at what it was, and they made a beat for that when he takes the cap off.
And then he goes and sits down beside a little boy.
Are we supposed to be more afraid for the kid now? That's just weird. Y'all just gotta...
Bryan Singer telling on himself?
Yeah, just fuck this place. Goddamn.
At 2 hours and 34 minutes, this is the longest solo Superman movie. Anthony Hopkins was set to play Jor-El when Brett Ratner was attached. Which I Brett Ratner's also been heavily canceled because of sexual assault shit, right?
No, but okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
this movie was definitely made in 2006 with like a certain circle of people that were Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Actors McGee was screening before his departure included Jason Behr and Jared Padalecki for the role of Superman, Scarlett Johansson for Lois Lane, and Shia LaBeouf for Jimmy Olsen. Oliver Stone, Michael Bay, Robert Rodriguez, Martin Campbell, Shekhar Kapoor, M. Night Shyamalan, and Stephen Norrington all turned down the chance to direct throughout the 10-year project development. Billy Zane was once considered to play Lex when McGee was attached. Johnny Depp was considered for Lex and Jor-El when McGee was attached. Robert Rodriguez turned down the director's chair because it wasn't going to be the Superman that he wanted to make, and he gets final cut on all of his movies. The Brandon Routh Superman suit was later reused in the series finale of Smallville. This is one of the last movies to show a close-up of the screen of a so-called feature phone, which was basically an advanced PDA. The following year saw the arrival of the smartphone.
Oh, yeah. I could see that. We had entered the time even by really the year 2000. We had started to enter the time where things, TV, movies, all that was starting to be advertisements for cool gadgets, especially phones. Like the little pocket devices were, that was getting to be something about this time. Remember BlackBerry's whole fucking marketing thing? It was just,
I don't, thankfully.
No, they had a whole strand. Like I was forgetting how much screen time was devoted to just being, look how cool this flip phone is at that time. And then there was a period after where it was like, look how cool the Apple and the new phones are. It was just over about 15 years there. I guess if you were, whatever phone you were trying to get in, it was just that you were trying to get in the coolest new device. I don't know that they do that anymore though. We just do like a Samsung ad and somewhere in your feed on whatever the fuck Instagram you're using or whatever. And that's it.
Yeah. Oh, so actors including Eric Christian Olsen, Topher Grace, and Shawn Ashmore were being considered for the role of Jimmy Olsen. Shawn's brother Aaron Ashmore later portrayed both older brother Henry James Jimmy Olsen and the younger brother James Jimmy Olsen in Smallville. Emma Bunton, Baby Spice, discussed in an interview on RuPaul's podcast, What's the Tea, that she auditioned for the role of Kitty Kowalski and was one of the finalists for the part. She must be a terrible actress.
To not have gotten it?
To not have gotten it over Parker Posey.
Or what happened here?
I don't know how this happens. Jennifer Connelly was considered for the role of Lois Lane. I don't know how you consider her and then say no, Kate Bosworth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kate Bosworth apparently based her portrayal of Lois Lane on Katharine Hepburn.
I'm not getting that at all.
I would, yeah. What? How?
Okay.
McGee and John Peters tried to get Beyonce, Jennifer Lopez, and Catherine Zeta-Jones for Lois. Matthew Vaughn said of this movie, "It had no idea what it was. Was it a remake, a prequel, or a sequel? What was it? I actually think Bryan Singer has done some fabulous movies, but I felt that this was just a mess. There's no other way to describe it."
Fair take.
So Will Smith claims he was approached to play Superman, but he turned it down, quote, "because I had already done Jim West of Wild Wild West, and you can't be messing up white people's heroes in Hollywood." Yeah, buddy. Wild Wild West just sucked.
Wild Wild West sucked.
And nobody knew who Jim West was. Nobody remembered Wild Wild West.
That was not the issue. The issue was that movie sucked.
The movie sucked. And he sucked in it.
Yeah. Like he's right about exactly that problem. He is not that's not an application of it.
Well, see, yeah, he says you can't be messing up white people's heroes, but he did mess up that character.
Sure, but it's just that categorizing that one as a white people's heroes is not that wasn't the issue, bro.
Yeah,
that movie.
White people don't care about Jim West. White people don't give a shit about Jim West.
Also, he did an angry Superman movie called Hancock that I really liked.
Absolutely. Also, why would he say, like, it's weird that he forgot the lesson. He said you can't be messing up white people's heroes in Hollywood. Then he went up on stage and slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And now he's rapping about it, and he's a national joke.
Yeah.
International joke, even.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? Oh, God, those lyrics are terrible.
I have not.
He rhymed stage with stage and then did it again. He says stage 3 times.
That is odd.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's weird. So I'd seen him do something a year and a half ago, something like that. He did something where he had done a little promo of him rapping like a while back, and that was good. Like he had decent lyrics there. But it was supposed to be like, yeah, we're gonna make a new album. I don't know where that went to. I guess that, and it sucks.
Yeah, his new, yeah, and people are just tearing apart his entire new album. He's real hung up on the Chris Rock thing, man.
That does suck. Will does have a weird place in like the history of music though, because like I know he was part of a big thing and he sold a lot, but also
he's never not been a joke a little bit.
Yeah, he was in a weird spot where he was like trying to make stuff that everyone could listen to, but as Eminem pointed out, you don't have to talk about other people's shit if you're trying to do stuff like that. Like, he didn't have to be talking about how he didn't have to cuss in his songs, and like, it was a weird thing. Why he just didn't have to do all that, and then like,
yeah.
But he does. He's had a weird, like, he was in on the early part of the history, and it was apparently, and I don't know this from personal experience, just what I've heard, but like he was in on the early part of the history, but then apparently a lot of that was the production part, and Jazzy Jeff was the real genius behind a lot of that. What went right there?
Oh, definitely.
And like his messing with the 808s and all that was really just that was the hugely influential part. Like, my point was, Smith might have just been like putting some words over some stuff that was way bigger than what he was doing.
And about 2/3 of those words are just him going, ha ha!
Maybe. And
I thought I was just making that up, and then Family Guy did a bit, and I was like, oh shit, yeah.
Maybe. It just may be that his place in the history of all that is a little more tedious than he'd like to think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Still feel bad for Jazzy Jeff. They remastered that record to get rid of all the low notes. Like, he fought tooth and nail to keep all the low notes in that, because he knew he was making it so that he was literally trying to make it so that it blew the speakers out of your car. And then the people who mastered the record said, oh wait, that's going to blow the speakers on the actual record players. They're going to blow this. So they pulled all that back so it wouldn't hurt the record players. And then when he went to listen to it in the car, it didn't do the thing he had made it do. Uh-huh. He said he still can't listen to the album because it was completely bastardized.
Well, it's probably good to not have your speakers blow out.
See, that wasn't what he was trying to do, though. He was trying to make those fucking things rattle. Like that early 90s, like, I can't believe that car's still holding together kind of rattle.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think you're about to break that Bonneville with that bass line, bro.
Oh, and they just tossed him out like Uncle Phil.
Here's a goner.
Alrighty, let's look. Misha Barton and Keira Knightley were both considered for the role of Lois when McGee was attached. Other actresses considered for the role: Alicia Cuthbert, Claire Danes, and Kerry Russell, Charlize Theron, Linda Cardellini, Michelle Monaghan. I don't know how you don't do Linda Cardellini, but whatever.
I don't know. At this point, it's just a list of everyone who got a phone call over 10 years.
I know.
Like, sure, they were all considered.
The franchise broke $1 billion with this movie. The Wachowskis were considered to direct the sequel. This is neat. The truck that Martha drives out to go retrieve Clark in the field was the exact same truck used in the first movie. They managed to find the truck and they rented it. I
mean, okay. That's an odd thing to go track down. Seems like a bit of a waste of time and money, but okay.
It is.
Makes you happy.
But it's kind of neat.
It is. It is. You ever see something though that's like, that's neat, but like, how much effort did you put into that? Because if you said, I might have had something better for your team to be doing that day.
Yeah, that's the problem with, a lot of this movie is like, you think about how much money they spent to reanimate, because they meticulously reanimated Marlon Brando's mouth to say what they wanted to say and all this stuff. I'm like, is the nostalgia really worth it? I say no.
I don't think so.
They probably could have saved a lot of money if they had just like done something else.
Yeah. But like you said, it didn't, the movie didn't have, a central thesis it was trying to get around. It was just a meandering, I genuinely think it was a meandering mess. Like a bunch of people who had just been dumped made a movie with a Superman logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of people who had been dumped and were not handling it particularly well.
Yeah, man. The S stands for stalker.
Yeah. The S stands for sus in this movie. Like, damn.
Well, here's the thing. Some of my opinions on the Reeve movies have changed since the last time I watched them. My opinions about this movie have not changed in the slightest.
Disappointment then, disappointment now.
Yep. I thought, in 2006, in college, I was a little more. I was pretty difficult to please. Let's be honest. I was more elitist. I was a little hardened. If you go back and listen 10 years ago to DC on Screen, I'm a little more of an entitled prick, you know? Like, I want things a certain way. I have my versions of things that I'd like to see. I just can't figure out.
I think we have loosened our grasp on that a little ourselves.
Just can't figure out how they can't get this shit right. But, no, on this one, I'm right. I'm still right. I still agree with myself.
This is still bad.
It's still, yeah. It was one of those things where, like, I like Brandon Routh so much and Legends of Tomorrow, and then I liked him in Crisis playing this version of Superman again.
Yeah.
And I went, you know what? Maybe.
Well, so to my point, again, that there just really never has been a good one. As long as I've got all these S's on my walls, I've got one on my body. Like, I've got this symbol everywhere. And, you and I were talking about how weird it is almost that, like, we've done this podcast for 10 years. We don't have, like, these reviews are all at once. Like, these have been around for forever. It almost seems weird for it not to be in our catalog in some capacity. But, and in a way, it seemed weird to me that I had just, like, man, it felt like a weird blank spot to me. And after a while, I just left it intentionally. Like, you know what? It'll be fine. I'll just go back. I'll get to them one day. But watching them now, it does not surprise me that there was no one in my life that was just like, dude, you got to watch this. No one has ever told me I have to sit down and watch these and been excited about it, because now that I've seen them, why would they?
On that depressing note, I think we're done. You got anything else?
That is a sad place to leave it. I don't think there's anything else to do with that. Other than just be like, wow, that sucked. We'll see you in 2 days when things hopefully are much, much better.
Yeah. All right. Well, patreon.com/DC on Screen. If you want to come over there, you can join the community for free. You can get every episode ad free for $1 a month. Or you can do the $5 a month and get everything, including exclusives. We did do a commentary track for Superman 3 as well as our normal review.
Mm-hmm.
And
which I think is a lot of fun if you've also not enjoyed these movies.
Right. And I don't know. We're going to watch Superman in a couple days, and hopefully we will change our tune about there's never been a good Superman movie.
Yeah.
But for now, I got to go lay down or something. I'm going to die. All right. Until next time, y'all. Thank you for listening, and keep some DC on your screen.
Bye.
Nah.